A frozen wind cut through Duluth like a blade when Ethan Cole, a former Navy SEAL, heard a sound no storm should make. A puppy's cry. Beneath the bridge, a mother dog lay shaking, trying to cover her babies with a body that was already giving up. Tire tracks were fresh. Whoever left them there was not far. Then headlights swept the snow. Two men showed up, claiming the dog like property, smiling the kind of smile that meant trouble. They did not know what they were walking into, because Ethan did not raise his voice, and his German Shepherd did not bark. But every bully understands one thing: silence can be a warning. Stay with this story, because what happens at the clinic will decide who walks away and who faces the truth. If this hits your heart, share this video with someone who still believes kindness matters. Comment where you are watching from, and hit subscribe for more true stories that restore faith. Break time 03. The cry under the bridge. Snow came sideways off Lake Superior, turning streetlights into pale halos and the asphalt into glass. Duluth held its breath, cold and sharp, like a city made of iron and wind. Ethan Cole drove with both hands on the wheel, steady but not tense. The navy winter coat lay heavy on his shoulders, the red and black plaid flannel visible at the collar. Faded jeans, brown leather boots. The outfit never changed, not because he loved routine, but because routine was the last thing that did not lie to him. His left knee throbbed every time he eased off the brake. That old injury did not need a calendar to remember. It spoke in its own language. Tight, hot, unforgiving. Beside him, Rex sat upright in the passenger seat, 5 years old, black and tan coat like burnished wood under the dim dash light. Ears up, amber brown eyes alert, calm, always measuring. Rex did not waste sound. He did not bark at shadows. He watched them and filed them away. Ethan took the back route along the industrial edge, where warehouses hunched in the dark, and the lake wind found every gap in the world. He told himself it was faster. He did not admit that the empty roads felt easier than the bright ones. A block ahead, a silver sedan idled near the bridge approach, hazard lights blinking like nervous eyes. Ethan slowed, not because the driver signaled trouble, but because his instincts did. Training did not disappear. It only learned new disguises. A woman stepped out, stiff with cold. She looked late 20s or early 30s. Average height, but too thin for winter. Shoulders tight as if bracing for a hit. Her hair was light brown, cut blunt at the jaw, and it fell out from a cheap knit hat. Pale skin, red nose. She kept wiping at her face with the back of a glove like she was angry at her own tears. She opened the rear door, yanked out a torn cardboard box, and set it near the guardrail. Something moved inside the box. Ethan's grip tightened. Rex leaned forward, eyes fixed, his body suddenly still in a way that meant he had already understood. The woman glanced over her shoulder. Her gaze flicked across Ethan's truck, over the shape of Rex in the seat, then away fast. Fear, and something uglier under it. Relief, maybe, that no one had stopped her sooner. She lifted the box again and carried it to the slope under the bridge, where snow had drifted into soft traps that looked harmless until you stepped into them and sank. Ethan rolled to a stop a safe distance back. He did not honk. He did not shout. He watched. Down the slope, she tipped the box. A mother dog tumbled out first, scrambling, nails scraping on ice. Medium-sized, tan coat dulled by grime, ribs faintly visible beneath her fur. Her eyes were wide, wild with protective panic. Behind her, small shapes spilled out. Puppies, tiny, shivering. One of them made a thin sound that barely survived the wind. The woman stood there for a breath, staring like she was trying to convince herself this was not happening. Then she turned and climbed back up, boots slipping. She got in the sedan, slammed the door, and drove off so fast the tires spat slush like an insult. Ethan exhaled once, slow. He did not chase her, not yet. The first rule was always the same: save what is in front of you. Rex's eyes met Ethan's for a beat. No drama, no pleading, just readiness. Ethan put the truck in park and stepped out into the sting of winter. The cold bit his cheeks and slid under his coat cuffs. He moved with careful economy, protecting his knee, scanning the road, the bridge, the shoulder. Under the bridge, the slope dropped into a drainage ditch lined with ice and crusted snow. Dark water ran in a narrow ribbon, a slow, ugly stream that promised a faster ending if the wind pushed it higher. The mother dog backed away as Ethan approached, placing herself between him and the puppies. Her body shook, not from aggression, but from terror and exhaustion. Her paws skidded on the ice. She tried to look big. She was brave. And she was losing. Ethan stopped several feet away and lowered himself into a crouch. The movement pulled at his knee, but he kept his face neutral. He spoke softly, the way he had spoken to frightened kids overseas, and to frightened men, too. "It's okay," he said. "I see you. I'm not here to hurt you." Rex came down beside him, stepping carefully, head low but eyes up. He did not crowd. He did not challenge. He simply existed like a quiet wall. The mother dog stared at Rex, then at Ethan. Her ears pinned back. She made a small warning sound, more plea than threat. Ethan held out a gloved hand, palm down, and waited. One puppy squeaked again. Another rolled onto its side, too weak to fight the cold. Ethan's chest tightened. He glanced toward the roadway above. If a car slid right now, it could drop into this ditch like a stone. Duluth roads did not forgive mistakes. A growl of engine noise rose behind him. Ethan turned his head. Headlights swung toward the bridge approach. A lifted pickup came in too fast, tires hissing. The truck hit a slick patch and started to drift sideways, sliding toward the guardrail. The driver, a broad man with a thick winter beard and a bright orange cap, wrestled the wheel with panic written all over his posture. Ethan stood fast. He did not freeze. He calculated. The pickup slammed the guardrail with a shudder that traveled down the metal like a drumbeat. Snow dumped off the edge in a white sheet, collapsing into the ditch. The mother dog yelped and lunged for her puppies. Ethan moved. He grabbed the nearest puppy, then the next, sliding them into his coat against his chest for warmth. His hands were careful but fast. Rex shifted into position, blocking the mother dog from bolting up the slope and into the road. Not by force, by presence. By the kind of discipline that made reckless people nervous. The truck above groaned as it settled, hazard lights blinking. The bearded driver stumbled out, swearing, his breath puffing hard. He looked down, saw Ethan, saw Rex, saw the dog family. For a moment, the man's face changed. Fear gave way to shame. Ethan looked up, eyes sharp, voice flat. "Stay where you are," Ethan called. "Don't come down here." It was not a suggestion. It was command, clipped and clean, the kind that made trouble think twice. The driver swallowed and nodded, hands up like he had met a hidden line he did not want to cross. Ethan turned back to the ditch. The mother dog trembled. Torn between protecting her pups and fearing the stranger, Ethan opened his coat slightly and let her see the puppies pressed safely against him. Warm, alive. Rex watched her closely, still silent. A gust of wind roared through the bridge supports. The ditch water shivered, dark and cold. Ethan knew they had minutes, not hours, and somewhere beyond the bridge, a silver sedan's taillights had already vanished into the snow. The truck in the snow. Ethan's breath steamed in short bursts as he climbed out of the ditch. The puppies bundled against his chest like fragile sparks. The cold tried to steal their sound, their weight, their will. Rex moved first, sure-footed on the slope, then paused at the edge of the road to scan both directions. His ears stayed high, his gaze steady, as if the night itself had a pulse he could measure. The mother dog followed, limping slightly now that fear had loosened its grip enough for pain to speak. She kept her body low, eyes flicking from Ethan to Rex to the road. She wanted her puppies. She feared the man holding them. She feared the world more. Ethan did not rush her. He turned his shoulders a little, offering her the side of his body instead of a straight-on threat. It was a small thing, but small things kept people alive. "Easy," he said, voice calm. "You stay with me. You stay with them." She made a thin sound in her throat. Not quite a growl, not quite a whine. Then she stepped closer, nose working, catching the scent of her pups through Ethan's coat. Her eyes softened for one breath. Above them, the pickup's driver stood near his crumpled fender, hands shoved deep into his pockets. He was a big man, thick through the shoulders, built like someone who had spent his life lifting what other people could not. His beard was dark and frost-dusted under the orange cap. His face was ruddy and lined, the kind of face that had argued with winter for decades and lost more than it won. He looked shaken, not just from the near crash, shaken by what he had almost slid into. Ethan kept his distance and spoke without raising his voice. "You hurt?" Ethan asked. The man swallowed and shook his head. "No, just, damn, road grabbed me." "Stay by your truck," Ethan said. "Keep your flashers on. Don't come down here." The man nodded again. Quick this time. He had heard that tone before, somewhere in his life. Not anger, authority. The kind that didn't need volume. Rex's eyes stayed on him anyway. Quiet and watchful. A warning without teeth. A promise without noise. Ethan opened his rear door and slid the puppies inside onto a blanket he kept folded behind the seat. He did not remember when he started keeping it there. Maybe after a winter call when he found himself unprepared, and never forgave it. The puppies trembled. Tiny bodies pressed together. One lifted its head and made a sound like a question. Ethan's chest tightened. He set his hand near them, not touching yet, letting them feel warmth and steadiness. The mother dog hesitated at the open door, sniffing the air like it might betray her. She wanted in. She was terrified of being trapped. Rex stepped back 2 paces to give her space. His posture was relaxed, but his attention never dropped. He was the kind of calm that made chaos feel embarrassed. "Come on," Ethan murmured. She jumped in, quick and light, then spun to face Ethan, keeping her body between him and the puppies even inside the truck. Her eyes were wide, but she did not bite. She chose restraint. The way Ethan did. Ethan shut the door gently. That was when he saw the silver sedan again. Not close, not obvious, but down the road, partially hidden by falling snow. A pair of taillights paused at an intersection longer than they needed to. Someone was watching. Ethan's gaze sharpened. His mind ran through possibilities the way it always had. Was it the woman coming back? Was it someone else? A friend of hers, someone who didn't want questions. He could have chased. He could have tried to be a hero in the dramatic way movies liked. Instead, he did what his training had taught him when the situation was messy and the innocent were close. He got out of the open. Ethan slid into the driver's seat, kept the engine low, and eased the truck forward. Not fast, not slow, controlled. He took the next turn without signaling urgency. Then another, moving away from the bridge and away from the ditch like slipping out of a bad neighborhood. Without telling it, you were afraid. Rex sat in the back now, close to the mother dog, his head angled toward her, not touching, not crowding, a silent guard. Ethan watched the mirrors. The silver sedan did not follow directly, but a dark SUV appeared behind him 2 blocks later, far enough back to pretend coincidence. Ethan's jaw tightened. His left knee ached as he pressed the pedal, but he welcomed the pain. Pain was honest. It did not pretend. He turned onto a wider street where the city's lights were brighter. Snow hissed under tires. The SUV stayed back, still back, like a shadow that wanted to be invited. Ethan drove toward a lit gas station that sat on a corner like a small island of safety. He pulled in under the canopy lights, where cameras stared down and the world had witnesses. Inside the convenience store, an elderly cashier glanced up through thick glasses. She was small and wiry, maybe late 60s, with silver hair pinned into a neat bun. Her name tag read Marla. Her expression was cautious, not unfriendly, like someone who had lived long enough to know kindness was real but not always safe. Ethan stepped out, shutting the door quietly behind him. He kept his posture relaxed but ready. Rex remained in the truck, eyes on the windows, on the parking lot, on the line between threat and nothing. Marla watched Ethan approach the counter. She noticed the flannel under his navy coat, the disciplined stillness in his movements, the way he never let his back face the door for long. "Rough night?" she asked. Voice dry. Ethan gave a small, tired half smile. "Seems like it." He bought a bottle of water and a pack of hand warmers, not for himself. Through the front glass, the dark SUV rolled by slowly, then continued. No stop, no confrontation. Ethan didn't relax. He returned to the truck and opened the rear door just enough to slide in a warmer's pack wrapped in a towel. The puppies stirred. The mother dog sniffed his hand, then the towel, and didn't pull away. Ethan noticed her leg again, a shallow cut, crusted with salt and ice. She was tough, too tough for what she'd been forced into. "Hold on," he said softly. "We're getting you help." Rex shifted his gaze to Ethan's face for a heartbeat, then back to the lot, a silent question. Ethan answered without words. He wasn't going to the nearest place. He was going to the right place. He started the truck and headed toward an after-hours veterinary clinic he remembered from a flyer taped to a community board near the lake. Duluth had a few places that kept their lights on for emergencies, even when the world wanted to sleep. The mother dog's breathing steadied as the truck moved. The puppies huddled tighter, warmed by the enclosed air and each other. Ethan kept one hand loose on the wheel, the other near his phone. No signal. Not enough to call, not enough to send. He would have to walk in and make it real. The roads narrowed as he neared the clinic. A strip of trees bent under ice. A street lamp flickered. The night felt too quiet. The way it did before, trouble decided on a face. In the mirror, far behind, a pair of headlights turned onto the same road. Rex's ears lifted. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Whoever was back there was still deciding whether to become a problem. And Ethan Cole, Navy SEAL or not, did not wait for problems to introduce themselves. Frostbite and a stranger's claim. The veterinary clinic sat like a bright box in the dark, its windows glowing against the snow as if warmth were something you could see. A single neon sign hummed above the door, and the wind pushed flakes across the parking lot in thin, restless sheets. Ethan eased the truck into a spot beneath the light. He didn't park close to the entrance. He parked where he could see the road, the lot, the corners, habit, training, the kind of careful thinking that had kept him alive when the world decided to turn ugly without warning. Rex's ears were already up. In the back seat, the mother dog pressed herself between her puppies and the door, eyes wide, chest rising fast. She had stopped shaking only to start again. Ethan opened his door and stepped into the cold. His left knee complained as he straightened, but he ignored it. Pain didn't get votes. He circled the truck once, scanning for the headlights he'd seen behind him. Nothing. Either the follower had peeled off, or they'd gotten smarter. Ethan didn't celebrate. He moved. He opened the rear door slowly, keeping his posture low and his voice gentle. "Hey," he murmured to the mother dog. "We're not staying long. Just help." Then quiet. She bared her teeth for half a second. More fear than fury. Then sniffed the air and hesitated. The smell coming from inside the clinic was different. Clean. Medicines. Animals. That smell told her this place might be safer than the ditch. Rex hopped out the other side and came around. Calm as a stone. 5 years old. Black and tan coat dusted with snow, amber eyes focused. He did not stare at her pups. He watched the edges of the lot. He watched Ethan's hands. He watched the door. Ethan lifted the puppies first, 2 at a time, careful and fast. Their tiny bodies felt too light, like they had forgotten how to belong to gravity. He tucked them into a cardboard pet carrier he found inside the clinic's entry vestibule, lined with paper towels and a spare towel from his truck. The mother dog followed at last, limping, head low, and Rex stayed one step behind her. Not pushing, not crowding. A quiet escort. Inside, the air was warmer, the smell sharp with disinfectant and wet fur. A bell jingled softly as the door closed behind them. A woman appeared from a back hallway, wiping her hands on a towel. She was in her late 30s or early 40s, tall and lean, with dark hair pulled into a practical ponytail. Her skin was olive-toned, her eyes a clear gray that missed nothing. She wore navy scrubs under a fleece jacket, and her posture had the efficient steadiness of someone who had learned to work through emergencies without letting them climb into her voice. Her name tag read Dr. Hannah Brooks. She took one look at Ethan's arms full of puppies, at the mother dog's stiff gait, and at Rex's quiet vigilance. "Bring them in," she said, already moving. Table 2, slowly. Ethan followed, his boots leaving wet prints on the tile. Rex stayed close but not in the way. a shadow that refused to break discipline. Another woman stepped out behind Hannah, younger, maybe mid-20s, with freckles and a soft, round face that looked too kind for midnight work. Her auburn hair was tucked under a knit cap. She wore a clinic vest and rubber-soled shoes, moving with quick hands and nervous energy. "Hannah, I've got warm IV fluids ready," she said. Hannah nodded. "Thanks." Megan Price gave Ethan a brief, sympathetic glance, then looked at the puppies with a wince like she could feel the cold in her own bones. "Poor babies," Megan whispered. Ethan set the carrier down. The puppies whimpered in weak little notes. The mother dog tensed, ready to fight anyone who reached in. Hannah approached with her hands visible. "It's okay," she said to the dog, voice low and controlled. "I'm not taking them from you. I'm helping." The mother dog's eyes flicked to Ethan, then to Rex, then back to Hannah. Rex stood still, ears forward, expression unreadable. He did not need to bare teeth. His calm was its own warning. Anyone with sense could feel it. Anyone without sense would learn. Hannah's gaze briefly met Rex's, and Ethan saw something shift in her face. Respect, maybe caution. She didn't ask questions about the dog. She just worked. She checked the puppies first, moving fast, fingers practiced. Megan laid out warm blankets and a heating pad wrapped in towels. The puppies were placed together, and their tiny bodies began to relax, not because they were safe yet, but because warmth is persuasive. Hannah examined the mother dog's leg. "Salt cut," she murmured. "And she's been running hard." "How long were they out there?" "Long enough," Ethan said. Hannah glanced up at him. "You find them." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Someone dropped them under a bridge." Megan's lips parted. "Who does that?" Ethan didn't answer. If he answered, his voice might change, and he didn't want it to. Hannah's hands moved to the dog's ears, her gums, her breathing. "She's exhausted. Hypothermia risk. The pups, 2 of them, are borderline. We need to warm them gradually. Fluids. If any of them stop responding, we act fast." Ethan nodded once. He listened like someone receiving coordinates. No drama, just information. The clinic door jingled. Cold air rushed in. A man stepped inside and brought the storm with him. He was mid-30s, tall but sloppy, shoulders hunched in a bulky jacket that looked expensive and ill-fitted. His hair was dark and oily beneath a hood, and his cheeks were raw red like he'd been drinking or yelling. He had a thin mustache that tried to look tough but only made him look mean. His eyes were restless, sliding around the room like they were searching for something to blame. He smelled faintly of alcohol and cigarettes. He saw the mother dog and the puppies, and something sharpened in his face. Possession. "There you are," he said, too loud for a clinic at midnight. "That's my dog." Hannah straightened. "Sir, this is a medical space. Lower your voice." The man ignored her, his gaze locked on the mother dog. "Come on, let's go." He took a step forward. The mother dog backed away. Body tight. Rex shifted. It was subtle. One paw forward, weight balanced. Head level, eyes fixed on the man's hands. Ethan moved too, placing himself between the man and the table with the puppies. "Stop," Ethan said. The word landed heavy. The man's eyes flicked to Ethan's coat. The flannel, the stillness. He noticed Rex then, really noticed him, and hesitated. Not because he suddenly found manners, because something in his gut whispered that this pair was not like the others. "Who are you?" The man snapped. "You some kind of hero." Ethan's face stayed calm, but his eyes went cold. "You're not taking them." The man scoffed. "That dog is mine, my girlfriend's. Whatever. We've had her. She ran off. I'm taking her back." Hannah stepped closer to Ethan's side, voice firm. "Then you can prove ownership. We check for a microchip. We verify. If you can't, you leave." The man's jaw flexed. Anger rose fast, like he was used to getting his way with volume. He took another step. Rex didn't bark. He simply held the man in his amber stare, steady and unblinking, the way a soldier watches a door that might explode. The man stopped. His bravado wavered. Ethan leaned slightly forward. Not threatening, just present. A quiet message. "Back up," Ethan said. The man's eyes darted to the puppies, then to the exit, then to Ethan again. He was making calculations of his own. And Ethan could see how small those calculations were. Hannah's fingers were already on the phone at the desk. The man forced a laugh that sounded thin. Fine. Check your little chip, but I'll be waiting outside. He turned, shouldering the door open. The bell jingled again as he left, and the cold air followed him out like a warning. Ethan didn't move for a moment. He listened to the silence return. Megan swallowed hard. That guy. He's trouble. Ethan's gaze went to the frosted window, the parking lot beyond it, the dark. Yes, Ethan said quietly. And he's not alone. Rex's ears stayed lifted, tracking something outside that Ethan couldn't see yet. The night had not finished making introductions. The parking lot test. Snow thickened into a heavy curtain, the kind that swallowed distance and made every light look far away. Outside the clinic windows, the parking lot was a pale blur, and the wind kept testing the doors like it wanted in. Ethan stood near the treatment table, shoulders squared, hands relaxed at his sides. The puppies lay bundled together under towels, their tiny chests rising in faint, steady pulses. A heating pad hummed beneath layers of cloth. The mother dog hovered close, eyes bright and worried, her body still angled to shield them. Rex remained a few feet behind Ethan, silent and watchful. 5 years old, black and tan coat catching the fluorescent light, ears up, amber eyes fixed on the front glass. His presence didn't fill the room with noise. It filled it with a warning. Doctor. Hannah Brooks moved with efficient calm, checking a pup's temperature, adjusting a towel, then glancing toward the lobby. Her dark hair stayed tied back, not a strand wasted. She had the kind of composure you saw in people who had learned that panic was a luxury. Megan Price stood by the counter, phone in hand, her freckled face tight with worry. She kept her voice low, as if loud words might wake bad luck. I called dispatch, Megan whispered. They said a unit is nearby, but the roads are awful. Hannah nodded once. We hold the line until they get here. Ethan didn't answer. He watched the window. The man who claimed the dog, whoever he was, had stepped outside with a grin that didn't match his eyes. Ethan recognized that type, loud when he felt safe, quiet when he didn't, the kind who used people's fear like a shortcut. Ethan's mind ran through options without emotion. Doors, angles, escape routes. Where the puppies were, where the mother dog might bolt if startled. How to keep Rex from being forced into doing something the world would misunderstand. A set of headlights swept across the lot. Rex's ears twitched. Ethan's gaze sharpened. A dark SUV rolled in slow, tires crunching over packed snow. It didn't park in a normal spot. It stopped sideways near the far edge of the lot, as if blocking an exit lane. The engine stayed on. That wasn't coincidence. That was choreography. Hannah's eyes flicked to Ethan. You think that's with him? Ethan's voice was quiet. Yes. Megan swallowed. What do we do? Ethan looked at the puppies, then the mother dog. He kept his face calm, but inside his chest, something hard and old tightened. He had seen this pattern before, in different streets, under different skies. A small life held hostage by bigger egos. We move smart, Ethan said. We don't give them a scene. Hannah nodded like she understood the language he was speaking. The clinic doorbell jingled. The man came back in. Up close, he looked worse. Mid-30s, tall, but not solid. His jacket was expensive but scuffed. The kind of coat a man bought to look important and then wore into trouble. His hair was dark and greasy beneath his hood. His thin mustache made his mouth look mean even when it tried to smile. His eyes were sharp with resentment, like the world owed him an apology. Behind him stepped another man. This one was older, late 40s maybe, stocky and thick-necked, with a shaved head that reflected the fluorescent light. He had a scar near his chin, a pale line that curved like a hook. He wore a heavy work jacket and gloves, and his eyes were flat. The way eyes get when a man has done rough things long enough to stop naming them. He didn't speak at first. He just looked at Rex, and for the first time, the room shifted, because men like that knew what danger looked like even when it sat quietly. They could smell discipline. They could sense the difference between a pet and a partner. The mustached man jerked his chin toward the mother dog. I'm done waiting, he said. Hand her over. Hannah stepped forward, voice firm. We're checking for a microchip. That's policy. The man's lips curled. Your policy doesn't mean anything to me. Ethan moved half a step. Not aggressive, just present. You're not taking them, Ethan said again. The mustached man glanced at Ethan's navy coat, the red and black flannel, the stillness. He tried to laugh it off. Who are you supposed to be? Some tough guy in a plaid shirt. Ethan's eyes stayed cold. You don't want to find out. Rex didn't bare teeth. He didn't growl. He simply shifted his stance so his body was between the men and the treatment table. The shaved-head man narrowed his eyes. He recognized something in Rex's posture, a controlled readiness, a dog that wouldn't bark until it mattered. Megan's hand trembled on the phone. Hannah kept her shoulders squared. Sir, if you threaten staff, I will have you removed. The mustached man stepped closer anyway, aiming for intimidation. Ethan didn't back up. His voice remained low, almost bored, which somehow made it worse for the man trying to feel powerful. Take one more step, Ethan said, and you'll spend tonight talking to a judge. The mustached man sneered. You think cops care about a bunch of mutts? Ethan's jaw tightened. Not from anger, from disgust. The mother dog let out a soft, broken sound. It wasn't a bark. It was the sound of something that had learned humans could be cruel and still hoped they wouldn't be. Ethan looked at her, and something inside him shifted. He remembered a village road far away, a child crying, a choice that had arrived too late. He had carried that memory like a stone for years. It had shaped the way he moved through the world now. Quiet, careful, protective, always trying to arrive earlier than regret. The shaved-head man spoke at last. Voice gravel. We can do this easy. He nodded toward the door, as if suggesting Ethan follow them outside. A trap, a stage, a place without witnesses. Ethan didn't bite. No, Ethan said. We do it here. The mustached man's smile cracked. Fine. Here. He lunged forward, not at Ethan, but at the mother dog, trying to grab her collar that wasn't there, grabbing for fur instead. Rex moved, not wild, not uncontrolled. A single, precise step that cut the angle and placed his shoulder in the man's path. Rex's body didn't slam. It blocked. His eyes locked onto the man's wrist, and the mustached man froze like he'd walked into a wire. Ethan's hand caught the man's forearm. A quick twist, just enough to stop him. Not enough to injure. The mustached man hissed in pain and surprise, stumbling back. The shaved-head man lifted his hands as if to swing. Ethan's posture changed. He didn't look bigger. He looked emptier, like all softness had been put away. Rex stood at Ethan's side, silent, a living warning sign. That was the moment the shaved-head man hesitated. He saw the calm in Ethan's eyes, the controlled distance, the lack of fear. He saw the dog that didn't bark, because barking was for amateurs. Outside, sirens rose faintly through the snow. Blue and red light flickered against the clinic windows like distant lightning. The mustached man's face went pale. You called them. Hannah's voice was steady. Yes. The shaved-head man grabbed the mustached man's sleeve. We're leaving. The mustached man spat something under his breath, then backed toward the door, eyes burning with promise. Ethan didn't chase. He didn't gloat. He watched them go, memorizing their faces the way he used to memorize exits. The door shut. The bell jingled. Cold air slipped out. The puppies stirred softly, still alive, still warming. Megan released a shaking breath. Oh my God. Ethan looked down at Rex and gave a small nod. Rex blinked once, calm as ever, then returned his gaze to the window, because the night wasn't over yet. Not until the police stepped inside and the truth had a record. Home is a warm light. The sirens didn't arrive like a rescue in a movie. They arrived like winter itself, steady and unavoidable. Blue and red washing over the clinic walls in slow pulses that made everything look temporarily unreal. Ethan stood in the treatment room with his hands open at his sides, the universal signal of control. Rex stayed close, not pressed against him, but aligned with him, shoulder to knee in a quiet line. The mother dog, still limping, kept her head low and her eyes locked on the puppies. The puppies slept in small, uneven breaths, wrapped in towels that smelled like clean cotton and disinfectant. The bell over the front door jingled. Two officers stepped in, boots stamping snow onto the tile. The first was a woman in her early 30s, tall and athletic, with dark skin and hair braided tight under her cap. Her face held a calm firmness, the kind you saw in people who had learned to read a room before speaking. Her badge read, Officer Lena Martinez. Her eyes swept the clinic in a single glance, noticing Ethan's posture, Rex's stillness, Hannah's steady stance, and Megan's pale worry. Behind her came a broader man, mid-40s, white, with a thick neck and a trimmed beard. His winter uniform strained slightly at the shoulders. His expression was tired but attentive, like someone who had seen too many bad nights and still showed up. His badge read Sergeant Tom Kessler. Who called it in? Martinez asked. Hannah stepped forward. I did. I'm Dr. Hannah Brooks. This man brought in an abandoned mother dog and puppies. Two men tried to take them by force. Martinez's gaze moved to Ethan. Sir, Ethan Cole, he said. Kessler's eyes narrowed slightly at the name, then at the way Ethan stood. The sergeant had been around enough veterans to recognize that stillness. Not stiffness, not posturing, readiness. Where are the men now? Kessler asked. Left when they heard your sirens, Ethan said. Martinez nodded. Description. Ethan gave it cleanly. One male, mid-30s, tall, dark hair, thin mustache, smelled of alcohol, expensive jacket. The other male, late 40s, shaved head, stocky, scar near the chin, dark SUV in the lot. Blocking the far lane, Kessler looked out the window. The SUV was gone. Of course it is, Kessler muttered. Martinez raised a hand slightly, a subtle calming gesture toward Megan, who still looked like her heart hadn't found its rhythm. Any injuries? Martinez asked. Hannah gestured toward the mother dog. Salt cut on the leg. Exhaustion. Puppies were hypothermic. We stabilized them. We need time. Martinez's eyes softened for one brief second at the sight of the pups. Then her professional mask returned. Do you have any proof these men owned the dog? She asked. Hannah shook her head. Not yet. We're checking the microchip. Megan hurried to the back and returned with the scanner. Hands steadier now that uniforms were in the room. She passed it to Hannah. Hannah knelt beside the mother dog, speaking gently as she slid the scanner along her shoulder blade area. The mother dog flinched, then held still, eyes darting to Ethan. Ethan crouched a few feet away, careful with his knee, voice low. You're okay. Stay. Rex sat beside him, ears up, calm as a locked door. The scanner beeped. Hannah read the number aloud. Megan typed it into the system, then called the registry line on speaker. The phone rang twice, then connected. A woman's voice answered, tired and cautious. North Star Microchip Registry. Megan gave the number. There was a pause, keys clicking. Then the voice changed. Yes, that chip is registered. Dog name, Daisy. Owner, Sarah Whitman. Address listed in Superior, Wisconsin. Status marked as missing. Reported 3 weeks ago. Megan's eyes widened. Missing. Hannah's shoulders eased as if a knot had been cut. Martinez looked at Ethan. You found this dog abandoned in Duluth? Yes, Ethan said. Under a bridge. Kessler's jaw tightened. So those guys were lying. Martinez's voice stayed level. Or trying. The registry operator continued. Would you like us to contact the owner? Yes, Hannah said immediately. Please. Within minutes, the clinic phone rang again. Hannah answered. A woman's voice came through, shaky and raw. This is Sarah, she said. Sarah Whitman. Is Daisy alive? Hannah's face softened. She's alive. She's hurt and exhausted. But she's alive. And she has puppies. There was a sound on the line that might have been a sob. Caught and swallowed. Oh God, Sarah whispered. She was pregnant when she went missing. Hannah asked a few questions, careful and professional. Sarah explained between breaths that Daisy had bolted during a snowstorm when a gate latch broke. They searched for days. Flyers, calls, nothing. Sarah promised she would drive as soon as the roads were safe. Martinez took notes, then looked up. Until the owner arrives. We treat this as an animal welfare case. Those men attempted theft. We'll file it. Kessler's gaze stayed on Ethan for a moment longer. You're not from around here, are you? Just passing through. Ethan said. Kessler studied the navy coat, the flannel, the faded jeans. Former military. Ethan didn't deny it. Navy. Kessler gave a small nod, as if that explained the way Ethan hadn't escalated, hadn't chased, hadn't turned the clinic into a battlefield. Martinez glanced at Rex. Your dog is well trained. Rex blinked once. Expression neutral. Ethan's voice was quiet. He doesn't like bullies. Martinez's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Neither do I. The official part ended quickly after that. Statements. A quick walkthrough of the lot. Hannah promised to send camera footage if needed. Megan printed records. Kessler took Ethan's number. Martinez asked if Ethan felt safe leaving. Ethan considered it. The dark SUV had been a message. The men had been a warning. But he also knew this. Fear was contagious. So was courage. I'm not staying on the road tonight, Ethan said. I have a place nearby. Hannah hesitated. You're taking them. Ethan shook his head. Not all the way. Just somewhere warm for a few hours. If you think it's safe. Daisy needs calm. The pups need heat. The owner is in Wisconsin. Roads are bad. Hannah looked at Daisy, then at the puppies, then at Ethan. She wasn't naive. She could see what kind of man he was. Not a savior for applause. A protector because he couldn't help it. We can keep them here, Hannah said. But if those men come back, Rex's ears lifted slightly, as if he had heard that thought. Ethan's eyes went hard for a beat. If they come back here, they'll regret it. No threat in his voice. Just certainty. Martinez watched him, then nodded once. All right. Here's what we do. We keep them here tonight. I'll have patrol circle once an hour. You go home and rest. Ethan wanted to argue, but his knee pulsed, and the last 2 hours had been a long stretch of cold. He didn't have to do everything alone. That was the lesson he always struggled to accept. Hannah guided Daisy and the puppies into a back room, warm and quiet, away from the windows. Daisy followed, still wary, but not fighting. She looked back at Ethan once, her eyes no longer wild, just tired, and grateful in a way dogs could be. Ethan stayed until the door shut. Outside, the snow kept falling, soft and relentless. In the parking lot, Ethan started his truck. Rex hopped into the passenger seat again, posture tall, eyes scanning the darkness. As they pulled out, Ethan saw a figure across the street near a bus stop. A woman stood under the weak shelter light, shoulders hunched, hair light brown falling from a knit hat, too thin, pale skin, same shape as the woman he'd seen under the bridge. She watched Ethan's truck, then looked away fast, like shame had weight. Ethan slowed, not to confront, to remember. He didn't stop. He didn't roll down the window. He didn't make a scene. But he memorized her face the way he memorized exits. Because some stories didn't end with sirens. Some ended with accountability. Ethan drove on into the winter night, the clinic lights fading behind him. Rex rested his chin briefly on the door. Calm again. The puppies were warm. Daisy was safe, and somewhere in Superior, Wisconsin, a woman named Sarah Whitman was about to get her family back. Sometimes a miracle does not look like a flash of light in the sky. Sometimes it looks like a snowy road, a tired man who refuses to look away, and a silent dog who stands like a guardian when bullies think they can take what is not theirs. In moments like that, it is easy to believe God is far home. But this is when God is often closest, working through ordinary hands, ordinary courage, and the simple choice to protect the weak. If you are carrying your own cold season right now, remember this. One small act of kindness can change a life. One brave decision can become someone else's answered prayer. And even when the world feels harsh, God can still place a warm light in the right place at the right time. If this story touched you, please share it with someone who needs hope. Drop a comment below and tell us where you are watching from. And if you have ever seen kindness show up at the exact right moment, and if you want more true-to-life stories that remind you goodness still exists, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. May God bless you and your family, keep you safe on every road you travel, and fill your days with peace, strength, and gentle mercy.